everyone. All right, today we are going to be talking about our essential question for Chapter 4, Section 4, around how do you identify slopes and the Y-intercept. So we are going to be taking our knowledge of the equation, our linear equation, and we are going to be kind of picking apart our linear equation so that when we are presented with this equation, we can identify what the slope is and what the y-intercept is. So first of all, let's talk about the x-intercept. So the first thing we want to talk about is the x. My pens. All right, so we have a y-intercept, meaning and an x-intercept when we graph. So looking at the axes, the x-axis and the y-axis. And so the first thing we want to talk about is the x-intercept. So the x-intercept is when the line crosses the x-axis through a point. Okay, so you have like your grid, and it's wherever the x will cross. So, for example, let's get a Post-it note so I can show it to you. What in the world I am talking about. All right, so you have your Post-it, and you have your x-axis here and your y-axis here. Wherever we have a line graphed, like let's say the line goes from here to here, right here is the x-intercept. So it's wherever on that line the line crosses through the x-axis. Okay, so the point on a line where the line crosses the x-axis. Okay, so if we look at this one crosses at -1.5. So this right here, that is the x-intercept. All right, but now we've also talked to you about the y-intercept. So you also have a y-intercept. Here, when you have the x-intercept, this usually means, or always means, that y equals 0 here. So you would have whatever your x value is. So here our x value is -1, 0. So that y value is 0 because you don't go anywhere on the y-axis. Okay, but let's talk about now this the y-intercept. So the y-intercept is the opposite of that. It's where the line crosses the y-axis. Okay, so where the line crosses the y-axis. Okay, so here, if we look, it's right here. So right there, that is the y-intercept. Okay, so right there. That crosses at +2. I go to 0 and then I go up 1, 2. So this here happens to be a y-intercept of 2. And here, this one was a x-axis of -1. Again, this here, your x value, you go nowhere on x, so your x value is 0, but your y is 2. That is the y-intercept. Okay, so you have an x-intercept and you have a y-intercept when we're looking at our lines. The one that we're going to be worried about the most when we look at our equation, sorry that my dog was making so much noise. The one that we're worried about the most in our equation is going to be where the y-intercept is. So today we're going to be using this new vocabulary and applying it to our past equation of y equals mx plus b. And we are going to be identifying the slope and the y-intercept. So in this equation that we've been using, we know that the slope is the m, right? This is also the constant of proportionality. That right there, that is your slope. That's your slope. The new part of this is going to be called your y-intercept. So the y-intercept, let's go ahead and just stick with pink since we already did pink here. Your y-intercept is the b. So this is the y-intercept. So you can use every single part of this equation to graph something without even knowing what the other points are. Okay, so first today we're just going to practice identifying the slope and the y-intercept. So the first equation that I have for you, it says y equals negative 4x minus 2. I want you to find the slope and the y-intercept. Oh my gosh, I can't spell. Intercept. Okay, so the y, let's start with the slope. We know the slope. The slope is always in the spot where the m would be. So if I rewrote y equals mx plus b or minus b, I would be able to know exactly where the slope is. Well, the slope is right here. Negative 4 is our slope. Negative 2 here, negative 2 is the y, because you would just write this as plus a negative 2. Remember that you're really adding negatives when we do our work. So this is your b, or the y-intercept. So when we're identifying these things, our slope equals negative 4. The spot where the line crosses the y-axis is going to equal negative 2. So you've identified the slope and the y-intercept. Okay, let's do another example. All right, so example B. Example B says that you have y minus 5 equals 3 over 2x. Okay, well, when you look at this problem, it's not written as y equals mx plus b. Right now, we have y minus 5 equals 3 over 2x. We're missing the plus b because right here, it's on this side. So what we're going to do is we're going to get it so that it says y equals. The way that we have it say y equals is we need to move things and solve for y. So we're going to add 5. That zeroes out. And then over here, we have to add 5. Y equals 3 over 2x plus 5. Now we can identify what the slope is and what the y-intercept is. So here is our slope. It's attached to the x, remember? It changes whatever the value is. And then our plus 5 is going to be our y-intercept. So we can just rewrite this now. Slope equals 3 over 2. And our y-intercept is in the b spot, which makes absolutely no sense. I know that, which equals 5. All right, so B. All right. A couple of things. The reason why it's called the B up above is because if you were to write the ordered pairs like this, A comma B instead of X comma Y, that's where the B comes from. It's in the Y spot. So that's why they call it MX plus B. Okay, we're going to do another example, and then I'll give you some try-its to do. All right. So here is another example. Example C. So example C, there we go. Example C says y equals 3/4 x minus 5. So our job is to identify the slope and the y-intercept. So we need to rewrite this so that it says y equals mx plus b. So we'll just rewrite it. Y equals 3/4 x plus -5. And now you can identify the slope, which is 3/4. And your y-intercept, which is right here. And that equals -5. Okay, our next example, and our last one to show you before you go on and do your try-its, is another one where we have to isolate the variable. So y equals 1 over 2 equals -6 times x. Okay, again, we don't have this in the right spot, so we need to move things around so that it reads as y equals mx plus b. So again, we're going to draw our balance line. We're going to remove 1/2 so that it zeroes out. And that gives us, over here, we need to subtract 1/2. So y equals -6. Let me make this look more like a 6. X minus 1/2. But again, it says minus 1/2. We want it to have an addition. So y equals -6 x plus -1/2. Okay, so now we have the equation y equals m. Here's our m. X plus b. So b is going to be -1/2. So b equals 1/2 negative, and our m equals -6. Slope, y-intercept. Same thing, same meaning. All right, it is time for you now to do your try-its. So it's time for you to do your try-its. And on your try-it, it says, number 1, y equals 3x minus 7. And number 2 says y minus 1 equals -2/3 x. All right, go ahead and hit pause right now so you don't hear me solving. And then when you are ready, come on back and check your work. All right, so the first thing we want to do is rewrite this. So it says y equals 3x plus -7. Now I can identify the 3. So the m equals 3. My slope is 3. And my y-intercept or my b equals -7. All right. Okay, number 2. On number 2, I need to isolate the variable. So I'm going to add 1 so that it zeroes out. And over here, I'm going to add 1. So y equals negative 2 over 3x plus 1. My job now is to identify the slope. The slope is right next to the x. So m equals negative 2 over 3. And my y-intercept is plus 1. Oops, so it's just a positive 1. Oh my goodness. So b equals 1, or let me just rewrite this. Y-intercept equals 1. Okay, there we go. Sorry, that one got kind of crazy. I apologize for that. All right, down below, I would like for you to please answer your essential question. How do you identify the slope and the y-intercept? So how do you do that? And then I want you to go ahead and give your level of understanding out in a box. 3, I've totally got this. I can just look at this. I can rewrite it, no problem. 2, I still need some practice identifying, but I think with more practice I'll be okay. Or 1, I have no clue what you did. I don't even know where you're getting this B from. Go ahead and write where you're at, and then you may head on back to the Google Meet to ask for help, or you can go on to Big Ideas and do your practice work. As always, I appreciate all of your hard work and effort, and make it a great day.